Alright, set the timer on this one, so try to make it just one part. A response video to conference report guy. Name's Fred, I guess. And, I made a video, did mention me and my philosophy, kind of, sort of. So I will jump to
is focusing on that particular moment, probably around the Jurassic, I guess, when when those reflex arcs, when that pro and social, antisocial behaviour, when those positive and negative valencies began to be experienceable as pleasures and pains. It's definitely part of our evolutionary heritage. It's part of the building blocks of who we are, but it's only one part. And focusing on pleasure and pain as being at the bedrock of our being misses the whole picture. It misses that whole slew of evolutionary history which precedes the Jurassic.
that is the part, I just don't understand. He did a really nice rundown of evolution, moving, from matter, from chemistry to this thing we call life, the reproducing matter thing. Didn't really get into the consumption reproduction, but did get into the fact that there's a mechanism of survival of the fittest and organisms evolve over time. So anyway, but so this point is that somehow consciousness isn't a key moment, like not just a bedrock moment, but the moment, the only relevant moment. If reproducing matter never never attains consciousness, if it exists for 10 billion years and it just never happens because the evolution never has that bend, it never goes there in that direction. It doesn't have to go in that direction. We don't know how unlikely that event is. We don't know how complex the mechanism of consciousness is, the chemistry of it. What exactly are the minimum components you need to create what is called a sensation. But regardless, it wasn't inevitable. And if life never possesses it, life is just a little mechanical device. It's a wind-up toy. It doesn't mean anything. It's completely irrelevant. It's an animated rock. It's garbage. It's nothing. It means nothing. I think most people are going to agree that the thing that makes life meaningful is this ability to harm things, this ability to hurt them, for them to be caused pain, suffering, to be experienced, as a negative conscious experience to be endured. And that's the substance of this thing, is that good feeling versus bad feeling thing. And to say that you can somehow be too distracted by that as an important feature of our evolution, I think is, I don't think you can be too obsessed with that reality. That's the deal. That's when meaning began. There was no meaning before that happened. You have to have that for there to exist meaning. Life is nothing without it. It's nothing, absolutely nothing. It's a moon, a funny-looking animated moon without consciousness. All right. So anyway, and then that mechanism of consciousness. I mean, this might be worthy of some sort of discussion, scientific discussion. What our brain is made out of. How does this consciousness thing happen? Because we know we have this feedback loop. We know where I talk, I hear my own words, they go back into my own head, they get reprocessed into the next sentence, and into the next sentence, and into the next sentence. I speculate that the brain is just reflexes, just a ton of them folded on themselves. It's R times R times R times R equals brain. A ton of reflexive reactions. And that has a clock speed. It has all that crap going on in there. It's really quite comparable to a CPU and a computer. I mean, a computer is a great model for what a brain is. It's all there. All the components are there, except for the fact that we have this sentience thing, and then we have a processing unit that reacts to the sensation. We understand a software program coming up with a result, and then some other software program reacting to that result and taking in some more information and creating another reaction. We can certainly understand that. But this idea of saying, well, here's this ambiguous thing called a feeling that has a weird sense of intensity, and say, what's the appropriate reaction? It doesn't feel like a reflex anymore, because now when it's almost like you can blend two feelings at the same time. You can love and hate. You can do things emotionally that just don't have that binary, digital, all or nothing kind of of truth to them. They have an ambiguity. A feeling is an ambiguous thing. And I think that's what makes the magic of consciousness, is a combination, is a joint where binary meets analog, where something digital meets analog, I guess is another way to put it. And it's just but we know what the evolution is. So you're arguing for some sort of grander mystery, that the consumption and reproduction thing is somehow more important than the feeling thing. And that's nonsense, because that's what the first 2 billion years of evolution are. It's just crap. It's just fucking carnage. It doesn't matter. It's carnage is the wrong word, because carnage implies harm. But it's just crap eating and reproducing. And that doesn't mean anything. And so then when sentience pops into the equation, then you have something for intelligence to do. Big intelligence. When it's just a consuming machine, big intelligence doesn't have as many problems to solve, because the only problem are the ones right in front of it, and it's going to have a really hard time doing long-term calculations. I think feelings are a real necessity for intelligence to get more complex, because it needs something ambiguous to react to. It needs something confusing and complicated, because if it's too simple, there's no need for complex intelligence, and that's why dragonflies have stayed dragonflies. It's because they're too functional. They don't need to become something else. And I think once you add this, like I said, I think this sentience and intelligence just magnifies itself. It just almost demands that it expand once it starts. Once that relationship between feelings and thinking begins, it just can't stop, because there's an awful lot for the brain to do with calculating what the true meaning of a feeling is. How hungry are you? How big is the threat? And measuring whether you should run out and get the food or whether you shouldn't. I mean, these calculations are hugely complex, and so it gives us incentive to have more and more brain to deal with these very complex situations our own feelings create, which is kind of ironic. I'll play the end of your video, because that's sort of the magic phrase here that I'm going to have a real big problem with.
Where we were at was pleasure and pain. That was it. That's as far as the building had been erected. But I think we are in a different architectural moment in our evolutionary history now, though.
Yeah, okay, so we're at a different architectural moment in our history. There's no way I can make any sense of that. It's quite obvious we're gluttons. We're just feeding the machine. We're feeding our desire. We're completely owned by our passions. If people had the magic wand and they could create their world, 9 out of 10 are going to create Caligula. They're going to create opulence and grotesque consumption. We're desire machines, and our intelligence is just being used to scheme to satisfy those desires. And we've become eloquent enough in our intelligence to learn certain truths about the fact that other people can feel, and this is a lot more complicated than just me, and so we can do a few more different kind of calculations, so we can almost care without personal interest. But it's difficult. We usually have to supplement an emotion. We usually have to find a cuteness about somebody or some kind of way to make them endearing to us emotionally before we're going to give a damn. How much time do I got left? 1 minute. Oh, good. So I mean, I just don't get this thing. Where do you think we're going to evolve to? Would be my question. What will we evolve to? It's still going to be a desire equation. Without the desire equation, there's nothing. Without the need, there's nothing. But unfortunately, there's no need for the need. We're not doing anything but what those first cells did, which is consume and reproduce. It has nothing to achieve. Brilliant, perfect, all-knowing intelligence, like I said, is of no value if there isn't a problem to solve. And the only way you can create a problem is to create a harmable consciousness. I mean, without a harmable consciousness, there's no problems in the universe. If something isn't capable of being harmed, there's nothing for an intelligence to do. So it's like we have to, if we're going to expand our intelligence, we have to drag our capacity to be harmed with it, because that intelligence will have nowhere to go. It still needs some kind of little soft, sensitive spot, a little pleasure spot to press. It needs little pleasure buttons to press on us, or there's no game to be played. The pinball machine has no meaning. I don't know how to make a perfect comparison, but you get it's a fundamental component of our existence, is this satisfaction thing that we chase, this fake desire, this imposition of a perception of value that we must have, we must get, we must. This desire thing is the only thing that makes this thing happen anymore. Because without it, we're just a mechanical, consuming, and reproducing thing that doesn't mean anything. And our intelligence is of no value without it. So anyway, enough said. Thanks for the video. Damn, can't find the button.